wanted to share one of my personal experiences with the Emir that I think encapsulates both his warmth and his wit as well. This was in the year of 2011. For most people, when they think of that date, they think of the so-called Arab Spring and all of the upheaval and the uprisings that were going on throughout the Arab world, and in particular, the fall of Hosni Mubarak and the sense on the part of many that the United States wasn't really a straight shooter, wasn't really supporting our friends. But in Kuwait, on the other hand, for us, it was the celebration of what we called the 50, 20, and 5. 50 years of independence for the state of Kuwait, 20 years since the liberation of Kuwait by U.S. forces, and 5 years since the accession of the Emir to the throne as the ruler, as the Emir of Kuwait, from being foreign minister for so many years. And so at the U.S. Embassy, we had really wanted to make a big deal of this, but I also wanted to get a letter from President Obama to give to the Emir to personally congratulate him on his 5 years being in that position. And so we had worked assiduously with the White House and really pushed them, and we succeeded, and it had arrived with the president's signature. And so I had scheduled an appointment with the Emir to present to him this congratulatory note from the President of the United States. And the Emir opens the envelope and whispers to me with his smile never leaving his face, "But Deborah, it's empty." Somehow in all of the hullabaloo, the secretary had failed to put the original letter from the president in the envelope. I kept smiling and I said, "You must be kidding." And he said, "Nope, it's not here." We both kept smiling, facing the camera, and I said, "Well, I will be sure and get it to you right away. I can assure you it's there. It's our mistake. I'm so sorry." And he kept smiling. He said, "Oh, don't worry." He said, "You know, this happened to me one time as well when I was foreign minister." And then he gave me kind of a funny look and he said, "And you know with whom it happened?" "Sir, I don't, Your Highness." And he said, "With Ben Ali." Of course, Ben Ali had just been deposed.
We made a point of trying to make a little bit of a photo history museum out of our embassy in Kuwait. And I came across a photo, and I was walking with a Kuwaiti guest as I was showing him these photos. He looked at this photo and he said, "You need to bring a copy of this photo to His Highness." It was a photo of President Nixon with 4 Arab foreign ministers, including the Emir when he was foreign minister. And they had gone there, I believe, under an Arab League mandate to discuss with President Nixon the aftermath of the October 1973 war and the ceasefire. They made a copy of the photo, framed it, and brought it to His Highness. That was all the meeting was about. I came to go see him just to give him this. And we were speaking a little bit in Arabic, and I started to explain what the photo was. And then I said, no, I won't explain this, Your Highness. Please just look at it. And he opened it up, and a big smile came over his face. And he first said in English, "I don't have this photo," which of course I had assumed he did. And then he looked at me. He said, "You know, Mr. Ambassador," and you have to picture this. This is in the Oval Office with Henry Kissinger as well as President Nixon and the other foreign ministers. And he looked at me and said, "You know, Mr. Ambassador, I recognize everyone in this photo except for one person." And I said, "Who, Your Highness?" And he pointed to himself and he said, "Me as a young man." And it was that kind of sense of humor that I think really so endeared him to many, many people.
I and the U.S. Embassy were working very closely with the Emir and the Kuwaiti government to commemorate in 2016 the 25th anniversary of the liberation of Kuwait. And Ambassador Skip Gnehm, who was the U.S. ambassador who reopened our embassy in Kuwait after liberation, returned to Kuwait to celebrate with us. So Skip and I called on the Emir to convey our congratulations. And as the current ambassador, I was given the seat next to the Emir, and I gave the formal congratulations of the president and did some bilateral business. And then I ceded that chair to Skip. And when we changed places, it was an absolute pleasure to see the transformation of the Emir from the ruler of a country who was speaking to the American ambassador to a man who was just talking with his old friend. And it showed me that in addition to being a strong national leader, he was also a warm human being who enjoyed friendships.
The first thought that comes to my mind is my arrival in Taif, Saudi Arabia, during the time the government was in exile. And I was given a room in the hotel, the Sheraton, and I went with my stuff, and then I opened the cabinet, and I realized there were all kinds of clothes that left by whoever had occupied the room before. And of course, I rushed back and I said, look, whoever was in the room before me left all their clothes. And they died laughing. I said, no, we put you in the foreign minister's suite. He's out traveling. We'll worry about that later. But ever after, the emir would say to me, yeah, this ambassador, he tried to steal my clothes the first time before he even met me. And I just laughed and shrugged my shoulders.
My most interesting and valuable experience with Sheikh Sabah was beginning with the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait on the 1st of August in 1990. He was very much in charge of Kuwaiti foreign relations. And we immediately let the Kuwaitis in New York know we were in for a long battle. The first thing we heard back from Sheikh Sabah was that he was girded and ready for it. And in fact, he came a number of times to address the Security Council, and he was always pitch perfect in what he had to say, making very clear that Kuwait was the innocent victim of Saddam Hussein, when in fact we wanted to bring Kuwaitis to the Security Council to talk about what their experiences had been in the Iraqi occupation. He was more than ready to put his shoulder to the wheel behind that and make that happen. Finally, he was inveterately and always behind, backing up the Kuwaiti Perm Rep, who did a fabulous job in the United Nations in making sure that never a day went by in the period between the invasion and the last resolution authorizing the use of force that there wasn't a Security Council meeting, or at least tremendous Security Council efforts by Kuwait on seeking their own liberation. Sheikh Sabah has much to be proud of, much in every other possible way to have contributed to the future of his country.
I think for me, the biggest legacy that he will leave will be the connection that he has with Kuwaitis. After the mosque bombing in 2015, when he said, Hedala Ayali, these are my people, and hundreds of placards and billboards appeared across town, I was recently reminded of one of those billboards that to me encapsulated the response of Kuwaitis to the emir. So at the top he said, these are my children, and at the bottom, the billboard said, well, intum abuna, and you are our father. I think in many ways, the legacy of Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmed is that he has truly been the father of modern Kuwait, both for Kuwaitis and for the world.